This video is to describe the SDEC clinician workflow. Firstly, ensure you are in the correct location, which is BRI Medical SDEC. Change it by clicking at the Change Location tab if you need to. Choose the patient you're going to see, click on the patient, check yourself in, and you are now allocated to that patient. That makes it obvious to other people on SDEC that you are in the process of seeing that patient. To open the patient notes, click on their name, and then scroll down to the SDEC view. This then describes the workflow for SDEC, going through these various subsections to then generate your clinical note at the end. It makes sense to start at the top. After seeing the patient, or while you're seeing the patient, you can just work through this workflow. So clicking on the presenting complaint, which brings up the triage note, which is also here. So it views any documents that have been entered in the last 24 hours. You can change that to view older documents. Important here to enter any chronic problems. So, for example, should the patient have other comorbidities, you can enter them here, and that's important for the purposes of coding. In this particular case, the patient doesn't have any past medical history entered from externally or from previous episodes. Clinical decision tools is the next field, and there are some ED and pediatric clinical decision tools in here that will feed into the notes. Click on here just to give you some examples. Things like mental test score, Canadian C-spine assessments, CURB 65 scoring, and they will all feed into the notes. Here's where you start entering your history. So just type in and click on save. And you do similar for review of systems, your examination findings, and then most importantly, what your end diagnosis in, and whether it's relevant to this visit or whether it's actually an old problem. So we can add a diagnosis here, check in your diagnostic drop down that you're on the SNOMED CT code. This should be the default. And you add your diagnosis in here, which in this case we're going to try typing in anxiety. Click on there, and that will be added to our diagnostic list. If there are any chronic diagnoses, these can also be added here, but in relation to chronic problems rather than this particular visit. In this section, you can document your plan for this patient, things that need to be done and carried out, information you've shared with the rest of the SDEC team, and if there is any handover taking place between shifts or anything like that, you can add in handover notes here. Safeguarding issues can be added in this section under ED safeguarding, and that is a prompt that will come up as mandatory on the discharge process, so it is useful to fill it in here. Vital signs that have been done on triage will automatically feed through to this section here, and they will graph out here. Any lab results that have been ordered and have been returned will appear automatically in this section, and these areas can be changed to choose the time period you're looking in. Orders that have already been placed are viewed here, so this is an automatically generated order for resuscitators, but similarly if x-rays or blood tests have been ordered, they will come up in this window. We've already documented about allergies in the triage section, so that pre-populates into this field. If there are any new orders you would like, then these can be added here, and there are some pre-ordered pre-populated order sets that can be useful. For instance, if you click on this file, it'll bring you up an ACS bundle, which then goes up into the tick box up here to signature, and you would then modify that as necessary to change the battery of tests that you want to order, and that may be blood tests or ECGs or whatever. We'll unclick that. Or if there's specific orders you'd like, say a chest x-ray, it'll come up here and then you click on that and it will go green up in this box here. If there's any medications you wish to order, click on them here and it will bring up the selection. And similarly, if there are any medications that the patient normally has at home, they can be edited in this box. Fluid balance, if it's been entered, will end up here. This field is regarding information about the patient and will be covered in another video. When you've finished all of this, you can then go down and click on the SDEC clinical note, which automatically will populate all the information you've already entered as part of that workflow. So all these fields will be pre-populated and ready for your note to be signed and submitted. If you click on that button and sign to confirm. So if you then click on documentation, it's coming up as SDEC clinical note, which can be viewed here. So it's worth noting that if the patient is unable to provide details or you need details from the GP record, go into the Calderdale, Huddersfield and Bradford Community View, which links into System 1, obtain consent from the patient, or if it's an emergency, click this box, and that will pull through the patient record as a read-only document into EPR for you to look at medications, allergies and past history. As a shortcut, if there are procedures or things you document on a regular basis, there are what's called auto text you can use in this space, and you can generate your own. There's a separate video on this, but for example, the shortcut .ed brings up a selection of different auto texts which you double click on, and this is, for example, the .ed ACS auto text. As I say, you can generate your own, and there is a separate tutorial on the EPR tutorial website to show you how to do this.